Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about how to unlock and cook cocaine. So two things I want to call out real quick. Number one is if you already saw the morphine video, then you'll know that there's a repeated section and you can go ahead and you can skip to this timestamp here. This will take you right up to the part after you have to make 4 million. If you haven't seen that video, no worries. Just do note that I am going to have a repeated section as the quest lines for the morphine and the cocaine are very interconnected. And second off, if we go ahead and look at the settings, you'll notice that I am using a 2.0 crafting speed multiplier. I normally play on the default DDS2 settings, but for testing purposes and to get through the crafts a little quicker, I do have this set up. So if you do see any crafting time differences between what I have and what you may experience, that's why. As always, first I'm going to show how you actually unlock the drug. Then we'll go into the production chain, I'll talk about what equipment you'll need. Then we'll put together a shopping list and I'll show you where to get everything. And then finally, I'll go ahead and give a demo of how you actually craft the cocaine and a few other interactions with special clients. As I did call out the Colonel in the morphine video, there's at least one but maybe two special clients for cocaine that you might want to keep off your dealer list, and I'll be sure to call that out towards the end of the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So once you escort Jean back to Benita, you'll notice there in the upper right that we do in fact have a voicemail from Kira, and then we get the completion for the resolution of the Western conflict. At this point, you're going to want to make your way back to a phone and you'll listen to the voicemail from Kira, and she'll say that she has some good news and that you should head over to discuss further business. So make your way back to Kira and go ahead and talk to her. She'll let you know that her boss is impressed and then start telling you about the further business. So again, they're wanting to expand west, but of course she's going to need you to do a couple of things. So you say, give me a list. You'll complete that quest and you'll also notice that you get a new recipes acquired. And I should have pointed out, but this quest chain is also how you get the Slav stashes. But nonetheless, you're going to see that you get a making profits quest that says meet with the wholesale client. In addition, you're going to have to start placing some Slav stashes in hiding places. And a quick note, I was going to do a video on this, but if you notice that you also got that new recipes acquired, that's all the Slav stashes are. And so I can still make a video if you guys would like, let me know. But essentially you can really just place a Slav stash in any Western base. Anyway, the last quest that's going to pop up for you after talking to Kira is that quest that says the big city, instructing you to go to City Hall. So if you're paying attention to the map, you can see that Sangrietta is right there in the upper left and the wholesale client is just below that. And further down, it's going to push you into Dueno del Mar. So this whole bottom left section of the map is where we're going to be working in next. So go ahead and make your way southwest of Sangrietta and we're going to be meeting with the wholesale client. So we're going to go up and talk to the American Colonel. You're just going to let him know that Kira sent you. He'll be pleased to meet you and he'll say that he has a special order and that he needs 30 vials of morphine. He pays a nice 50,000 per vial and is asking if you can handle it. So of course at this point you don't have the logistics for it, which you'll let him know. And he'll basically start laying out the roadmap for you, letting you know that you need authorized vials. You can look in warehouses, ask pharmacists, and additionally he's going to give you a contact to someone who covers laboratory equipment. The next dialogue that you should hit is that you don't know the recipe, to which he'll just tell you that you should go and figure it out. So tell him fine, you'll handle it, you could accept the order. And luckily this first order is not time gated like many of the special client orders are, but you'll see that you get 2 new dialogue tags, one for the morphine recipe and one for labeled medicine vials. So continue pushing down the road a little southwest, and you're going to be passing a dock. It's basically right next to the Colonel, but you're going to go into this little storage container, and you're going to meet this guy named Alex. Just let him know that the Colonel sent you, and there you go, you have met the equipment seller. So this is really good. This guy pretty much sells all the highest tier equipment that you're going to need. That includes the orbital shakers, the laboratory tray dryer, some of the water baths, even the laboratory soaking vat, the grinders, and the mixers. He also sells large barrels, which add a nice 50,000 gram capacity to your substance storage. And the last thing I'll mention, and my favorite part about this guy, is that this actually unlocks as a new store for you, so you don't have to come here physically. Instead, what you can just do is when you're in a hideout, you could hold space like normal, go into that furniture mode, and then if you scroll down, you'll see that the equipment store is listed just like any other furniture store would be. So you could purchase pretty much any lab equipment that you need remotely, which just makes it so much more convenient for setting up bases, as now you don't have to go all over the place, getting lab equipment, coming back to your hideout and setting it up. This guy is quite literally a one-stop shop, save for except some of the outdoor growing things, such as the pop boxes or the outdoor drying racks. But nonetheless, you can start leaving his store, and while you're here, your next inclination may be to just go down to this fuel depot guy and ask him. He'll say that he doesn't know, but also to go ahead and ask someone in the pharmacy about the labeled medicine vials. So continue down into Dueno del Mar. I'm going to go into this exclusive boutique and also ask about the medicine vials. You'll get a name now saying that you should go and find Cameron, and the clothing lady has no idea about the morphine. Don't worry, we are still going to get to that, as well as the cocaine. So you can leave the shop and just head on over to City Hall. Just make your way through the doors to the right here, and you're going to meet the town official, and you're going to ask him if you can get a pass to the capital. Here he's just going to let you know that you have to be a registered resident of Dueno del Mar or Bahia de Oro, and you also can't have any active criminal investigation on you. So to get this, you either need an apartment or a house in either of the two cities that I mentioned, but nonetheless, you don't have to have that right now. You'll even notice that I have the wanted status, so you can go ahead and say great thanks. You're going to see that you get a new voice message from Billy, and then 2 more additional tags, one for cocaine and one for the alternate ways to Bahia de Oro. So you can head out and continue on your way down to the pharmacy, and here we're going to find Cameron. Talking to her will show all the dialogue tags that we just unlocked. First, we're going to ask her though about the labeled medicine vials. She lets you know that her stash is short on them, but fear not, she does in fact have a stash. You'll see she has no idea about Bahia de Oro, but you can go ahead and ask her about the cocaine, and she'll let you know of a guy named Marco who was recently arrested for cooking coke. That's all well and good. You can go ahead and open her shop, but you'll notice that she doesn't actually sell vials, at least not at level 0. So instead, you can go around the counter here, and in the back room, you're going to find a locked chest. Make sure that you bring some lockpicks, and you can go ahead and open that up. And upon doing so, you'll find your first few empty labeled medicine vials, as well as some empty labeled medical boxes. So you can take whatever you need, but she wasn't kidding when she said that her stock was very limited. But fear not, I will show you another place that you can get them later on. So let's go ahead and address the voicemail that you got from Billy. You'll start talking to him, and he'll tell you that he has a contact inside the capital, but he says that you might want to consider expanding to cocaine as well. You'll need to dig a little deeper, and if you ask around, maybe you'll find something. That gives you another quest called the Big City, prompting you to initiate contact with the chief, and still saying that you should ask around for sources of cocaine. Additionally here, you can open up the tech and knowledge tree, and you'll see where it says find Marco that he recently worked in a jungle coke lab, and that you could find him in the prison camp to obtain more information. Now if you head back to the general store, we can actually go ahead and talk to this guy here, and just simply asking him about the cocaine will complete that quest, and he'll let you know that he heard some rumors about a lab in the jungle, also confirming that whole bit with Marco, and now you can search the jungle for the hidden coke lab. You can ask him all the other tags as well, but the medicine vials you don't have to worry about too much, and I'll get to expanding into the other city in another video as well, so don't worry too much about those. So opening your map, you will see that there is now a blue circle roughly around the area where the hidden coke lab is. If you keep searching around, you'll know you're getting close once you find this little cabin that's for sale. Now I kind of went a really wonky way here, and I got up the hill a little bit, and I essentially just skipped over the part where you're supposed to crouch underneath a log, but nonetheless I dropped in, and you'll see that you discovered the coke lab, and you'll talk to this guy named Luca. And if you ask him about the morphine, he'll tell you that someone in the jungle knows it, but it's not him. Now continuing on to the dialogue with the cocaine, you just let him know that you strolled in by accident, and that you're looking for the coke recipe and see if he wants to share. He tells you that it's going to be 4 million, which at this point in the game may or may not seem pretty steep to you, but he lets you know that you're not only going to gain the recipe, you're going to gain this whole lab, him and his buddies as employees, and a contact of the man that sells the coca leaves. Now if you followed along like that, you're going to see that you failed the quest to talk to Marco, but if you still want to do that, I'll show you how. I will just say that it's not necessary, it really just adds some additional steps, but as far as I can tell from my testing, it doesn't really do anything different. So just go up to some cops and let them beat you up. You're going to hit respawn now, and it's going to bring you to the prison. This shouldn't be your first time, and again, if you need a little more guidance, then you can go ahead and watch the opium video. But if you look just behind the 2 main guards that let you out, and to the right of the medical tent, you'll find this building here. So head on in, and in the back right corner, you're going to find Marco Polo. You'll just ask him who he is, ask if he knows how to cook coke. He'll say yeah, with his friends in the jungle, and that they're supposed to buy him out, but he's still here for some reason. You could tell him that you'll find them and make sure that he gets out, and here he'll try and give you some more direction as to exactly where it is, just saying that it's east from Dueno del Mar and close to a little wild pond, and that there's a fallen tree that you need to crouch under, and from there you'll also be directed to talk to Luca. So make your way out of the prison, and you can do what Marco instructed you and duck under the tree this time. You could talk to Luca here again, tell him that you know Marco, and let him know that he is still waiting for them to bail him out. You'll go ahead and ask him how you can help here, and here you'll find the true reason for the 4 million. He's saying that he can use all this to bail Marco out, though I don't know if that's the true cost to actually bail someone out, but hey, nonetheless, he still pretty much says that he's going to do everything else for you. It really just changes up the dialogue tags, nothing too new. Again, you can still ask him about the morphine recipe if you needed, and at this point, this is where the intro section is going to diverge. So if you're on the morphine video, I'll see you in the jungle, and if you're on the cocaine video, then your next step should be to acquire 4 million. And you'll see here, I have my 4 million. I just took it all out of the pawn shop, so it will be in small denominations. So you are going to want to bring probably a large backpack. And if you don't know where to get a large backpack, you could refer to the morphine video. But in short, there is a military store right outside of Dueno del Mar. And if you go in there, he sells the large backpack right away. So go ahead and make your way back to the coke lab, and you're going to talk to Luca again. Select let's talk about your offer. And he's going to remind you again that the price includes the lab as well as all the lab equipment, the ingredients that they have, as well as him and his friends as employees, a distributor for the coca leaves, as well as the coke recipe. So you can say sounds good, you could pay him the 4 million, And congratulations, you now have 3 more employees, the recipe for the cocaine, the Coke Lab hideout in the jungle, which does have max security, and you also would have noticed on the left that you have a new tech and knowledge quest to go and meet the coca leaf distributor. And so you may be inclined to go over to the large drying tables and see exactly how they work, and you'll notice in the hideout stash that they start you at just a little over 700 coca leaves, which is a fair amount, and you can go ahead and take them. And additionally, what you'll see I did here is I compared the laboratory tray dryer to the large drying table, so you can see even though the laboratory tray dryer has a query of 90, if we go over to the large drying table, you'll see that it has a crafting query of 200, which is much larger, but if you look at the top, it's actually low quality equipment, giving you about a 10% production loss. Additionally, you'll note that it takes 4,000 watts for the large drying table compared to 1,200 on the laboratory tray dryer, and it's going to take a little longer and produce a little more waste. So it is nice of them to include this for you, and again, this base does have max security, but given that it has no water and it's kind of hard to get to, I made my decision pretty early on that I didn't want to stay here. So of course, totally your call, it's your playthrough, but if you want my suggestion, I would say pack it up and maybe start your croak operation in another base, as I showcased in the beginning of the video. And it's a little hard to see here, but if you look in the northern point here, just to the bottom right of the influencer heart of where Ramon was, you'll see there that the faint skull is blinking, and that actually is the location of the coca leaf distributor, and that's where we're going to be going next. So there's a few suggestions on how you can get here, but mainly I've been parking my boat at the Calion dock, and as you can see here, I'm going to start making my way around the island. And there is another hideout that I'll point out, as I thought it may help, and a dock is pretty close by, so you can keep a boat there, but if I'm being honest, that hideout doesn't have a parking spot, so it doesn't really make fast traveling there any quicker. And I will be showing you guys another place where you can actually get coca leaves from, but if I'm being honest, this coca leaf distributor guy is probably your best bet, especially after you start getting him leveled up and getting the discount, and I'll go into the numbers and explain why later on. But we'll go ahead and we'll talk to this guy Tony or Thony Severe, let him know that his friend Luca sent us. You can tell him that we bought the lab off of him, but we need his precious leaves to run it, and there you go, you would have met the coca leaves distributor. And so you'll see here at level 0 he starts off with a stock of 1,000 selling for 700 apiece, which again might seem a little steep, but spoiler alert, he already has a much better quantity and a much better service than the other option that I'm going to be showing you, and that's just strictly due to the quantity that he sells you right off the bat. Just do make sure that you bring a whole bunch of cash, and you'll see here as soon as I buy these 1,000 coca leaves that it's actually already going to push me up to level 2, restocking him, now giving him a whopping 7,000 stock, and bringing our cost down to 630 per leaf. So with your pockets full of coca leaves, you can head back to your dock of preference. If you are docking at Calion, you can go ahead and run to the gas station, just right at the end, and that's also where I usually park my car. I always like to buy this guy out of all the gasoline that he sells, and this is a good time to mention that you are going to need some gasoline. Not as much as I initially thought, as looking into it a little further, you'll see that the 4-liter jugs are actually 4 kilograms of gasoline, so just getting a few of those should set you up for a fairly long time. But whether you decide to stock up here or go to the other fuel depot that's just right outside of Dueno del Mar near the boat store, you shouldn't ever have a shortage of gasoline. Just do know that you are going to need it. And before I get into the rest of the shopping list, I did just want to point out the other source that you can go to for coca leaves, and that is this guy Janusz, who's actually just down the road from Billy over on the peninsula. He's just sitting here alone on the dock, and honestly I don't remember how I found this guy. I think there was a dialogue tag somewhere that said something about a traveler, and as I remembered on the map, Janusz actually shows up as the traveler. So I went over there, and needless to say, he said that he had a solution for the coca leaves problem. And as a side note, he's also another guy that can get you a one-time transit pass to the capital, which is only 150,000 compared to some other methods for about 250,000. But nonetheless, you could talk to him and you can also ask to upgrade his infrastructure, but he tells you to make that work, he's going to need another 500,000. And in fact, just to unlock him the first time around costs an initial 500,000. But anyway, you can go ahead and say that you want to order some leaves with him. He tells you it's going to be 210,000 and that the order is going to take about a day, and at that point you can come back and collect the stash from him. After about a day or so in the morning, you should get a pop-up saying that you can go and collect the coca leaves. So head on back to the dock, and right in front of the yellow cargo crate, you'll see that there are some coca leaves in these bags of smuggled goods. So we'll open it up and you'll see that you only get a measly 300 coca leaves. So if you remember correctly, the quantity that the other coca leaf distributor has up front is 1,000, and it costs about 700 per leaf. Now Janusz charging 210,000 and only giving you 300 leaves up front also makes that 700 a leaf. So not only does Janusz charge you the same amount as the other coca leaf distributor, but you have far less quantity available to you right up front. You have to pay him an initiation fee, you have to pay him to upgrade the service, and with how much money that I already spent at the other distributor to level him up, the discount that I have as well as the quantity that he has is just so day and night compared to what Janusz offers, that even if you were to upgrade Janusz's service, I couldn't see the quantity that he upgrades you to being that much higher. Even if it doubled it or tripled it, it wouldn't even come close. So I'm really not sure if this was just an oversight on the devs part. First off, you're never going to need that many coca leaves, and if you do, I think you have a bigger problem with trying to balance out how much you're crafting. But even then, crafting the cocaine takes a while, even with that 2 times crafting speed multiplier that I I have. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and jump back to the other distributor. And here I'll showcase just buying him out one more time and getting him to a max level of 3. To where here you can see that it now upgrades his stock to a staggering 11,715 leaves that he will restock, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be every day. And it also brings your cost down to 595 per leaf. And I did the math for you and I'll put it up on screen here as well. But if you ever did want to buy him fully out of his stock, it will run you 6,970,425 bolivars. So yeah, Coca Leaf distributor on top in my opinion. If anyone has fully maxed out Yanush, you can let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm just not wasting any time with him. So with our Coca Leaf supplier taken care of, the next thing I want to do is talk about the other materials that you're going to need. So we're going to start here at one of our magnetic stirrers. And you can see here that we have 2 recipes, both for liquid fertilizer. And the difference here is that one of them uses regular fertilizer, whereas the other uses synthetic fertilizer. Some things you'll note is the waste and the time cost difference. So it's going to be 15 seconds and 3 grams using synthetic versus only 11 seconds and 1 gram using regular fertilizer. Additionally, it costs double the amount of synthetic fertilizer as compared to the regular fertilizer. But either way, whatever you have on stock, both will give an output of this 1 gram of liquid fertilizer. And you'll see here that I have multiple magnetic stirrers all kind of staggered up like this. And this is just to make queuing a little easier. If I had them stacked on top of each other, I would have to move left and right constantly. But here I can just go ahead and move from magnetic stir to stir, and I can just queue up multiple full queries. The next thing that you're going to notice we need is the gasoline, which I did already talk about. And I'll show you a good place where you can get as much gasoline as I think you'll ever need. Coming over to the water baths here, you'll see that we have 2 recipes for cocaine paste. So with the lower tier craft, you'll see here that it takes 12 seconds and produces 4 grams of waste. It's also going to take 4 grams of this baking soda as well as 3 grams of these soft coca leaves and give you an output of 2 grams of the cocaine paste. Compare that to the higher tier recipe, only taking 10 seconds, 2 grams of waste, 2 grams of the soft coca leaves, and 2 grams of ammonia. So if you can help it, you're always going to want to use this higher tier craft. And finally, you're going to need a source of dryer. So I'm using the laboratory tray dryer here, and it will just take 1 gram of the cocaine paste and give us 1 gram of cocaine in return. So starting with the fertilizer, we can actually just come right down here to this mini market. And I like this spot a lot because I have the Dueno Del Mar apartment that's right here. I just go right past the boutique. And if we talk to the guy, you could see I still only have him at level 0. And just by default, he actually sells 5 bags of the extra large 5 kilogram fertilizers, as well as 5 bags of the 3 kilogram synthetic fertilizer, and some 1 kilogram bags as well. But 25 kilograms of fertilizer is going to be plenty, so you could just go ahead and scoop this up if you want. Additionally, you'll see that he also sells 5 bottles of the 1 liter ammonia. So if you're low on stock and you just need a little bit, you can go ahead and pick them up here. But as I pointed out in my morphine video, I really like this pharmacy down here at the peninsula. You'll see that I have her maxed out, but she's a great source for a lot of the chemicals. And as you can see here, she's selling 3 of the 5 liter jugs of ammonia. So this will be plenty, and she restocks every day, so you can come here and just pick it up. Another place that I can call out obviously is the construction store just southeast of Slavs Bay. And if you're fast traveling here with a car, it will show as the chemical shop, so you can go in there and talk to her. And as always, there's plenty other stores and warehouses that you can go ahead and get ammonia, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue. But one other place that I wanted to call out and that I mentioned earlier is the fuel depot over by the docks. So if you have a car, you'll park right over there. And real quick, I did also just want to call out this warehouse that's available for purchase. It will run you 3.25 million, but it does come with running water and a phone line, making it really nice and convenient if you do like to use the docks a lot. So this could totally be another viable laboratory setup for you if you don't already have a preferred location for the cocaine lab. And for that matter, I've also heard of people using this warehouse as their one-stop shop for production. So they make everything here and then they go and they distribute it accordingly. Anyway, just down the corner, you'll see there the fuel depot guy. So we could talk to him here. He starts at a max level of 0, but as you can see, he sells 10 of the 11 liter jugs of gasoline, as well as 20 of these 4 liter. And again, as I mentioned, a liter is also equating to a kilogram here. So you should never have a shortage of gasoline. And just for reference, the fuel depot is right over here, and my base in Dueno Del Mar is right over here. So even if I didn't have a car or fast travel ability, it is a very close walk. And again, if you have that warehouse, it's even closer. So now that you acquired everything that you need, I'll just walk you through producing some cocaine. So of course, we'll start at the magnetic stirrer over here. And you're going to need a lot of this liquid fertilizer, which is another reason why I have so many. So typical production for me will look like this. I'll just go down the line and I'll hit every single one of my stirs, just making sure that I max them out. Those are going to start ticking away. And while they do, you'll see that liquid fertilizer gets added to your substance storage. You can come over to the soft coca leaves then. And again, we should have no shortage at this point of coca leaves. It only takes 1 per 2 soft coca leaf craft. So 2 liquid fertilizer and 10 grams of gas. I like to go ahead and max these out as well. And you'll see that I have 3 of the laboratory soaking baths. And even with how much I've been producing, I still don't have enough to fully max out all 3 of them. But that's okay, just go ahead and let them do their thing. Your next step again will be to treat it at a water bath. So we'll come over to the higher tier crafting recipe. And again, it's using 2 grams of the ammonia and 2 grams of that soft coca leaf to make some cocaine paste. So I'd like to max these out as well. And as the cocaine paste gets added to the substance storage, I'll then come over to my laboratory tray dryers and I'll start queuing these up also. And just like that, we're well on our way to producing a ton of cocaine. That's going to be very useful for distributing both here to Dueno Del Mar, the peninsula, as well as Bahia de Oro, video. And the last thing that I wanted to show you, which I promised earlier, were just 2 clients that you may want to keep off of your dealer list. This first guy being this Enio Balderas, and he'll occasionally give you some small quantities of cocaine vials that he wants delivered. And just as you experienced probably with the meth vials, or even the amp vials, this only takes 1 vial and 1 gram of cocaine. The vials you can get from a lot of different places, including the construction store right outside of Diego in the jungle, as well as other places. You shouldn't have a problem finding these. It takes 1 gram of the cocaine as well. And unlike the morphine vials, these do actually stack properly, so you don't have to babysit them. It doesn't give you too much money, but it is worth considering if you do want to go ahead and make some annual deliveries to them. And this is perfect actually. I was gonna go down into the peninsula and show you this, but I actually just got an order from the other client, Erica Benitez, and she'll occasionally order some pretty large quantities of cocaine, which again, in the grand scheme of things with how much you are making, 28 grams will net me a couple $100,000, so it's definitely nothing to overlook. But again, she's another one that you may want to leave off your dealer list, and she could be found in the peninsula. And that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed and you learned something. I really do try and put a lot of effort to make sure that I'm being as concise and thorough with these guides as I can. Stay tuned for more videos coming out very soon, and thank you all for watching.